9397 Network and Hot 9397 presents Sapphire'S Soup du Jour with Just Bob, stirring the pot and serving the latest soup. Brought to you by Hey Love Saloon, Adam's Apple, Janet'sCloset.com, and Janet'sDungeon.com.
Train to leave soft in the brain. Still want the fame off the name. First of all, you ain't rap long enough to be with me. You ain't strong enough. So whatever it is you puffing on, they got you thinking that you Superman. I got the kryptonite. I smack you with my dick in the mic. That's characters, not even good actors. What's gonna be the outcome? Let's add up all the factors. You whack, you twisted, your girl's a hoe. You broke, kid ain't yours, and everybody knows your own man say you stupid. You be like, so I love my baby mother. I never let her go. I'm tired of weak. Whining over foot that don't belong to them. What's wrong with them? If you get up for real, like my man's in them, who get it on, strip for the hands with them. Man, y'all gonna make me lose my mind.
Serious topic today. You know, Fridays are We Say Gay in parody to the Don't Say Gay laws. And we went through all that. So we're not going to hash it off. There is now
no more talk. Put them in the third strand. You keep up. That you trying to end up red.
Good morning.
I end up red, I end up dead. Did you just start tight? What? Fake off dog type. Push like a soft fight. Dog at the dog, blood thicker than water. We done been through the mud and we quicker to slaughter. The bigger the order, the more guns we run out. And up in there, everybody come out. When the body burn out, sun in the sun out. I'ma keep the gun out. Running his mouth, I'ma blow his lung out. Listen, yo, it's about to be missing. You know who gon' find you? Some old man fishing. Grandma wishing your soul's at rest, but it's hard to digest with the sound of the hole in your chest. Y'all gon' make me lose my mind. Up in here, up in here. Y'all gon' make me go all out. Up in here, up in here. Y'all gon' make me act a fool.
What's good, family? It's Cujo Speaks. If you haven't downloaded our app, download it today. 9397 Network, man. Take us everywhere you go. Take us to work, in your car, home, gym, you name it. You can request songs, send me direct messages, follow all my social outlets, and stay up to date with the show. Search 9397 Network in your app store today.
We don't care if you jam out with your clam out or rock out with your out. Just do it here on WHOT Hot 9397.
Initiating launch sequence.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
One, two, three. Good morning. Good morning, sun. Good morning, door. Good morning, wall. Good morning, floor. I want to say good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, window. Let me see. Good morning, flower. Come on, tree. Good morning, street. Do you hear me?
All right, let's get to it. It's Friday morning. And it is time to get with it. I'm not going to say it's time to wake up because we don't know where you're at. But if you're waking up, good morning. If you're going to bed, don't go to bed yet. You got 3 more hours to go because you're listening to Sapphire'S Soup du Jour on Hot 9397 WHOT. We're happy to be here, happy to be alive, and bringing you some controversy today. Yeah, we're going to be mixing a little bit of my own hometown news into our worldwide issue, including Iran. They're having issues in Iran right now with protests and everything over rights of everyone. If you're watching on the live stream broadcast, good morning. If you clock me on my headroom, let me explain it right now. I don't want to sit up so close as where I'm supposed to be, right here, which would give me proper headroom. Where I like to sit is here, and I want the TV screen on there for purposes. So that's why the headroom's a little bit weird. If you're looking at that, don't clock me. Anyway, if you're not, you're going, what in the hell is she talking about? But it's Friday morning, and we have the American Music Award nominations came out for 2022, and I'm showing my age because I didn't recognize some of them people on there. And that is the way it goes. So, but we're starting out today with my hometown. So I live in Dearborn, Michigan, which is the largest population of Middle Eastern people in the world. It used to be beside the Middle East. Now, I don't know if those statistics still hold true, but nonetheless, heavy population of Middle Eastern in Dearborn, Michigan. And I enjoy living there. And there is now an issue that has turned into a huge debate. And we're going to break it down a little bit today. And it is public school libraries and LGBT books. I was going to say we were going to talk about controversial books, and we could, but specifically, since today is We Say Gay Day, right? And it's just a play on the Don't Say Gay law for the schools down there. But again, we're going to break this down in a little bit of detail of what we're actually doing here, including, so in Dearborn, Michigan, and in school board meetings across the nation, and I'm sure the world, you're having these same discussions and fights. And it really is deeper than the books, okay? Because people are getting spitting mad, right? Ready to commit felonious assault on another person for being who they are and speaking about it, while you're standing there with your right to speak. Okay. So we have a heated board meeting the other day that is shut down by the fire department and police because of too many people. It was getting a little bit out of hand. So it was time to move the venue to a bigger place. Big mistake. Well, not a mistake, because people get to have their word, but it gives more people the opportunity to show up for both sides, and violence and anger almost always ensue. So I'm watching this. I'm close to the issue. I live in the city. I'm a resident of the city. I am a member of the LGBT community, being transgender. Okay. And I understand both sides. But the point is, it gets so much deeper than just books. For instance, a young transgender person up there speaking, everybody's booing them so they can't be heard over the microphone, but they want their voices heard. See, that's not American. Okay, so when you come to America, if you're from another country, you have to assimilate some of our customs and courtesies. Freedom of speech is one of them. Not arguable. Don't like it? Tough titty said the kitty. Too bad. You don't get to choose. Okay? So you have people booing the transgender person for speaking their mind. Now you are stepping on human rights. Now you're stepping on people's freedoms because you don't want books in the classroom. We're no longer talking about books or in the library. We're no longer talking about books in the library now, are we? Now we're talking about disrespecting another person for who they are. You're transgender. I don't need to hear what you have to say. And same for the other side. The LGBT community is closed-minded on this a lot, and I'm going to take heat, and I don't care. We have to understand. Let me, and I made sure to write it down so I remembered, but I didn't even need to, because when you know what you're talking about, you don't need too many talking point notes, okay? In Iowa, there was a public school that allowed a Catholic, we talked about this in depth one day. They allowed a Catholic after-school program, to which a satanic group, look it up. It was on the national news. Look it up. I'm not lying. A satanic group then said, we can too. And guess what? They did. Yeah. I don't know if they smoked the devil's lettuce, but the satanic group is in the public school. Do any kids attend? I have no idea, but the opportunity avails itself. Same thing for this. When we start banning books, you ban them all. Not all books, all controversial books. Or do you? Well, let me chime in. Let me explain this. We're talking about, again, the Don't Say Gay law in Florida, which that's not what it is, but nonetheless, that's what it is identified as. Specifically talking about kindergarten to third graders. Now, it's a legislative bill. It's probably 16 pages long or more. And that's basically what is the big issue is, should these things be made accessible? Should things like this be taught to our kindergartners and third graders? Let's expand it even further to our elementary school children. Do you have children? Raise your hand, chime in, or whatever the hell way you can communicate. Start a fire and make smoke signals. I don't give a hell. But let me know if your kids have come to you with any of this before, right? I know how I did it as a kid. If I saw a book that I didn't understand, I didn't read it, right? I didn't look at something and go, huh. Just there's the one book, and we're gonna look up some of the books. I'm gonna do that on a music break, and we're gonna look at some of the books, and we're gonna see why they're banned. And I'm gonna say this: as a transgender person, I don't think all these books need to be in a public school library. Now, before you go, blah, 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 I don't care. Go, blah, 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 blah. Don't matter to me. I don't care. I'm going to speak my mind. It's America. You can speak yours too. Am I right? No. Are you right? I don't know. Maybe. But a public library where mom and dad can take child who has expressed not interest, because you don't go, I'm interested in being gay. I'm interested in being trans. Sounds fun. No. Who wants to go through all this? You know, that we get put through by society. Who wants to go through it? Like, I think I'm just going to be this. No. Nobody, you don't want to be. You just are. So, you, as a child, those no books like that should be in the library, in my opinion, in public schools, not public libraries. Public libraries, an adult has to help you check out the book as a child, unless things have changed so much that anybody can just do whatever the hell they want at any time. You see, there's got to be reasoning. And now here's the argument, though. On the LGBT side, they go, but Sapphire, it's more than just the book banning. They're trying to erase who we are. What? Who can erase who you are? You are who you are. Who can erase that? See, that's where we get screwed up. Everybody else plays into who we are. Man, no man, Pam, not here. I am who I am. I don't even like looking in the mirror, but I don't have a problem looking at myself in the mirror, but I don't look at myself and go, ooh, ee. I hate what I see, but it doesn't matter. That's not what we're talking about. But when we're sitting here and we are arguing, and I'm watching on my local news last night, I'm watching this humongous, massive man. He's probably 6 foot something, 300 pounds of all muscle, no neck, just head and shoulders and massive man standing there right behind the microphone, like, big old burly guy, intimidating anyone he doesn't like hearing from. That's not the way this is supposed to go. Everyone has a say, even not believing in what you believe in. However, When it comes to books in a public school, people care. And what do you now? One of the books, allegedly, and I'm going to really look for this one. Allegedly, one of the books has about how to do gay sex, basically. And I go, come on, who would? That's pornography, right? That is not allowed, because here's the deal. Why I mentioned the Iowa Catholic school after school program, or I'm sorry, the Catholic after school program and the Satanic after school program is because of this. If we are truly talking about sexualized books and gay people want to be categorized as people, gay sex isn't gay sex, it's sex. So if that's the case, then sexual books should be banned, right? You can't say it's okay to have gay sex books and not regular sex books. You see what I'm saying? There's no logic, but the heat of the emotion and everything makes people not think logically and sit down and rationalize it. Do you really want books talking to your kids about fornicating in a public school library? Forget gay sex, forget LGBT, forget erasing who we are. Do you want the books in the school for the kids? Is that proper moral guidance? I'm asking you. I already know my answer. I told you my answer. I don't want them in the public schools. If the kids are gay or drawn to those books and they say, Mom, Jennifer and Susie were reading this book about lesbians and I can't find it, and I think I might have an interest in this. Mom and Dad have a job to do now. Not to send your kid to conversion therapy. Embrace your child like it's no big freaking deal and get them the resource they're seeking. It's that simple. It's that simple. You don't even lose sleep over it. You know why? Because it ain't your life to live. You guide them. Now, if you're a Christian and you're Catholic and you don't believe in that and you think that's going to send them to hell, well, then that's obviously going to be a conversation. But you think you're going to scare your kid out of it? No, you don't scare them straight. You scare them into a closet, and then they have to have coming out day for all their newfound family. Hit a nerve. So, yeah, it hits home, you know. When you are talking about books, you have to think about specifically what you're talking about. Because once you start getting into they're trying to erase who we are, or they're trying to put us back in the closet, we're not talking about that. We're talking about books in the school, right? But nowadays, we like to blend things together to make it divided, and we're prone to it. I always say, and it's one of the things on this show I will always say until proven wrong, we live in misery because we're conditioned to it, right? We are absolutely conditioned to say, oh, I'm here. Hey, how's it going? Go to work today. When you're at work, it doesn't matter. Maybe you're at work right now listening on the headphones. Reach over to cubicle or look over to cubicle and just look over, or the next person that walks by, go, how's it going? I'll bet you all my Monopoly money in the world they say, I'm here. Just another day, living the dream. One of those cliche sentences, and you call them on it. Go, good. Go find something you like to do, Jack. What are you doing here then? You know, I'm here. Well, then leave. So we always do that. We love to live in misery. So we sit here and we now cannot even focus on what the true issue is. When the Florida thing came out, the don't say gay law, do we really think that's important for our kindergartners through third grade to be taught about gender identity? I don't think that's a good idea. I think it's only a good idea if they approach you with it. And we've talked about this. if a child comes up and tells you something of the sort of, I might feel different, or I think I like girls and I'm a girl, or I think I might like boys and I'm a boy, or I might be a boy and whatever the scenario, that's when the training is real simple. I can do it right here for you. It won't even cost you nothing. A teacher gets the information from a child, then they got to find the proper resources. There's school counselors. You talk to the parents and you let them know. And if the parents don't like it and they say, you will not call Johnny Jenny, then guess what? You're not calling Johnny Jenny in front of the parents, at least. Now, to respect the child, and I will go on to say, I would call the child what they prefer to be called. Because when you go out on the football field, you got Butch, and you got Steamroller, and you got Bubba, and you got Hedgehog, and you got all these. You think their parents named them that? Nope. You have no problem going through life calling Coach. You have no problem going through life calling Bubba, right? Hey, BJ, you think that's his name? No, that's what his mom used to do until the one time he stuck it in her, and here I am. No, nicknames are fine. So they're fine for pronouns too. End of story. So if somebody comes up to you and says, hi, I'm Susie, and they go, but I thought your name was Steven. You go, not anymore. That name's gone. It's called a dead name. No more. Gone. But you can't mix the two, see? We always mix things now. It's what we do. We can't focus on one topic and stick to it because emotions get into play. Somebody says something. So, for instance, scenario, I go, these books belong on the shelf. You can't erase the LGBT community. And the other guy goes, we don't care about erasing your community. We don't want the books in the school. And I go, but if kids want to have them, they go, it's not appropriate. And as soon as somebody, I'm not appropriate now. See, as soon as there's always a trigger word, right? You people's a trigger word. Unless it's a white person talking to a white person, man, you say you people, you're in deep caca, right? Because it doesn't matter anymore what is actually going on, right? Customer service, swear at them, double dog dare you. Your problem is now deeper in trouble. Because once you do that, the issue no longer becomes my issue. The issue is don't swear at me. And I go, well, do what you're supposed to do. Don't swear. See what I'm getting at? So the same with this LGBT book banning issue. If we sit around the campfire or sitting around having a beer at our favorite bar, the Adam's Apple or Hayloft Saloon, that is where you go. A 7-year-old learning about sex? Hell no. But add LGBT, add a race to conversations, and we escalate the emotion, and we can no longer get things done, right? Tyler Perry said it a couple years ago, somewhere in the middle, politically. Somewhere in the middle is where we get things done. Far left, no good. Far right, no good. Somewhere in the middle, where most lie, that's where the action is. So get spun up about all the crazies on the left, all the crazies on the right. Most people are in the middle. Not all Republicans are crazy. I got really some strong news for you. Not all Trump supporters are crazy, murderous, rapers, and stuff like that. So that's not a plug for him. It's not a plug for anybody. I can honestly, I'm to the point where I've got CNN and Fox News up on my screen right now. I threw up in my mouth, swished it around, and swallowed it, looking at all this crap. And you know what? If I go back 5 years, 10 years, 60 years, 1860, same stuff. Why? That's what sells. We are bamboozled. We've been bamboozled to believe that a man that's been in Washington, D.C. for 47 years was the product of change. Say no more. Say no more. Say no more. And I won't about that. With everything, there needs to be focus and objectivity. And we've lost that, right? Driving down the road, people bully you, right? They're on their way to a rally because somebody was murdered by bullies or committed suicide because of bullies, and they're bullying their way to the bully rally because they're driving close to you until they're gonna tailgate you so close. Because like this morning, I'm doing 68 miles an hour in a 55. You'd have thought the trucks will drive you off the road at 55. Okay, I'm doing 68. This guy behind me couldn't even have it. He was going crazy. He was swerving back and forth, trying to get. Made me want to slow down a little bit, but I value my life more than I value worrying about some moron behind me. But they're bullying me. They're bullying you to get out of the way, right? And then you could always do the brake tap thing. I don't do that, right? It's dangerous. It's meaningless. And at the end of the day, they either hit you in the rear or shoot you, and neither one's worth it. So they're usually just people with real small penises and smaller brains. And, that happens. So it's just the way it is. But yeah, so check us out on the social media pages. We are live streaming on all of our social media, including YouTube, on 9397 Network. You can chime in on the comments. Yes or no? Book banning, do they belong in elementary public schools? Not public library. Public library is another story. Right? You must have an adult to check that out for you. There needs to be that opportunity. You can't ban books, but we're talking public schools, right? And also why I brought up Dearborn, I don't want to lose track of this. The melting pot, the progression of America. The reason I said that Dearborn is predominantly Middle Eastern is because it's a factor, right? They now have a say in the community they live in. God bless America. I mean, you don't like that? Leave. Period. I mean, that's the beauty of it. They're allowed to speak. They're allowed to elect people that have their best interests in mind, so to speak. They're allowed to vote for people that will further assimilate their culture into the American web and weave it together. You don't have 100% of anything once you come here, right? Once you come here, I don't know about 50% American, but I would have to say you're 50% American at least if you come here. You got to be 51%, right? You got to own it. So you got to be 51% American and 100% of where you came from. Yeah, there's room for that. Who made math? Man. So we can change it, right? We'll get Biden to make an executive order. He can switch it around for us real quick like. So back to the issue, though. We have to put aside all of the emotion of it and get down to the actual nut and bolt of the issue, right? It's not about erasing our culture. And what for a 19-year-old or a 25-year-old, and not to lessen the impact of their of what their importance in being, but what impact do this history have on who you are today, right? If all of gay history, if Stonewall was never talked about again, they erased all of it from are you now straight? What, do you need this validity to be gay? What does being gay mean to you? I know to a lot of people it's just a choice of what you're attracted to, who you love, right? For a partner. It doesn't come down to, well, we need this and that and the other. But that's not even what they're arguing about. And you've got all these other people arguing that ban the books. They're bad for the kids. You got the other ones who are going, but you're erasing our culture. How? And I want to know, how is it erasing our culture if you ban the books from the school libraries, if they're still available to the public? And mom and dad can find resources. You bet your sweet butt that I can get online and find these banned books for a decent price. So we act like it's the end of the world, right? Well, the reproductive rights for women. I'm 100% for reproductive rights for women. Pro-choice all the way. I think abortion's bad. Never should it be banned. But what worries me, again, is not so much whether you have the choice. How many people are distraught over not being able to have one? Like, for me, you go, you've got like two things I will never do. Give me the choice between the two. And I go, I don't care. I'm not going to do it. Now, you never say never. I understand that. But the precautions go into play. What about rape? What about incest? I don't know how often it happens, but apparently it happens quite a bit, which is a sad mark for our country to say, man, we got to have abortions because we have so much rape and incest. No red flags there? Like, can't keep our peckers in our pants, boys, or what? I mean, and it ain't just the boys, but boys rape, girls rape, but you can't blame the victim, right? Rapers do it. There's no, well, you shouldn't have dressed like that. Well, you shouldn't have made out with them and let them feel your boobies and then stopped them. No, at any point in time, you can say no, let go, and that's the end of it. Boy or girl. Imagine the cheating boyfriend where the girl's trying to get the boyfriend and girlfriend broken up because they used to be friends. The girls used to be friends and now they're not. And she likes the boyfriend. So now she's trying to get in the boyfriend's pants so that she can cheat. And the boyfriend's a little tipsy at a party one night and they kind of get on the couch and she gets on top of him and it takes them a minute to stop her. Well, when he says no, you got to stop. That's the way it is. So it works both ways, right? No matter what issue we're talking about, it's work, but there's never. But the point is, the books have to be available, right? And that's what we're talking about. We're not going to get off on too many tangents on the first half hour of the show, so I promise. But you chime in, let us know. 9397network.com. You can listen there and chime in. The easiest way to get to us is 9397 Network's app. You go on the app, there's a three dots in the middle. Click that, it says more. You go to the social network on the left. It looks like a social media page. You just type in what you want. You can even post pictures. We ask that you keep them G or PG. And we may even screen them before you can post them. I don't even know if they got to be approved first. I don't know, but I wouldn't have approval rights, so it wouldn't matter anyway. But that way you can chime in and say, this is why we should ban books. This is why we should not ban books. But you got to remember, this is not even about the rights anymore because they're kids. They have rights, but let's face it, they're not. They don't have rights. They have certain rights as children. The right to choose what book they read, no, not until they move out of the house, right? I mean, they can read it at public school, but public school library is designed to model a generic family model at home, right? So in other words, we're going to carry books on this shelf that our families would offer their kids if they thought of it. Not, hey, Playboy's over there in the adult section. If you get all A's in third grade, they give you one free pass in the adult section for 10 minutes behind a curtain. Please be a white curtain, because if it's black, it's going to be messy quick. Anywho. Friday morning. It is October 14th. There's already a story, and we're not getting into it. I don't even know the validity of it, to be honest with you. October 14th, so it had to have happened at least yesterday, right? Halloween candy. A lady was suspicious of some gummy worms, and wouldn't you know it, they're marijuana gummy worms. People are not giving away their goods. I just can't see it. Is it going to happen? It could. It does. I would be very vigilant if I was an adult with a child that was trick-or-treating. My daughter has 2 trick-or-treating age kids, my grandkids, and she's very cautious with them. Checks the candy and everything, but it's a sad world we have to live in. So you take the power away from the bad guy by not going trick-or-treating. So you penalize the children for adults being no good for nothing scumbags. That works. Yeah, that sounds good. So, but they're coming out with a story about that cannabis in the gummy worms. The lady says, "Well, I knew the package looked funny, so I put it aside, and looked at it afterwards and noticed, yeah, these are marijuana gummies." And it's like, well, where were they handing them out? I know a lot of people that would be interested in going trick or treating there and pay to get in. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to break. You're listening to Sapphire's Soup du Jour on WHOT Hot 93.97 on Friday morning. Well, it's morning where I'm at. That's all that matters to me. We'll be right back. Keep it locked.
Hey guys, you already know we're here chilling with Sapphire on Sapphire's Soup du Jour, only in the morning. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Regulators. We regulate any stealing of his property. We're damn good too. But you
Welcome to Adam's Apple, your neighborhood LGBT bar serving all your favorite drink. With friendly and knowledgeable bartenders that keep the party going and make sure your needs are met.
It's the cheers of the gay bar. Your bartenders know who's coming in, where they're going to sit, how long they're going to be.
Kick back and enjoy some fresh air on their large enclosed heated patio. Open year-round with music and weekly barbecues. Karaoke every Thursday night where you're the star. And Mexican Fiesta on the last Monday of every month. Located at 18931 West Warren, Detroit, Adam's Apple.
Throw your hands in the air if you're a true player. When you call me big, to the honeys getting money playing like dummies. When you call me big, you gotta cut up in your waist, please don't the place. Cause I see some ladies tonight that should be having my baby. Baby. Check it out. Puff that, big and small, shoot them out,
WHOT Hot 93.97, playing the newest hip hop and R&B mixed in with the music your parents used to to. You're listening to WHOT Hot 93.97.
Welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket out. Welcome back to that same old place that you like.
We're going to build a new set. We'll have a happy new life, and we'll have equal rights for all, except blacks, Asians, Hispanics, Jews, gays, women, Muslims, everybody who's not a white man. And I mean white. So no Italians, no Polish, just people from Ireland, England, and Scotland. But only certain parts of Scotland and Ireland. Just full-blooded whites. No, you know what? Not even whites. Nobody gets any rights. America.
All right, we're back on a Friday morning. We've been talking about controversial things today, Bob. Are you with us?
Can't imagine.
Oh, hello. Morning.
Good. Can't imagine you and controversy go together.
We've been talking about banning books in public school libraries, the LGBT books specifically.
Right.
So we've been talking about that all morning so far, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Went off the rails on a couple topics here and there, but, we digressed and regressed right back to it.
Sure.
Okay, so we're going to get your take on it. What is your thought? Public schools and LGBT books involving sexuality and sex topics.
Mm-hmm.
Not how to feel accepted as,
No, not the feeling side, the mechanics side. I think there's a place, but it's not. It should not be in an elementary school, in my opinion. That's just not the place. Period. I mean, if you're going to get involved that early with that kind of conversation, that's something that definitely needs to be done at home with the doctor, whatever. And why you're having that conversation, then I don't know, but at that point, it shouldn't be left to interpretation for the young individual to pull a book out and start taking a look. Now the next, I'm going to hear next, oh, they got the internet. You're not hiding them from anything, But you can, and you can control their screen time and that kind of thing to the largest extent. Now, I think by the time you get into
notion,
I think
not here.
Yeah. I think by the time you get to the high school level, by the time you get to puberty and beyond, where this is all much more top of mind, there may be a place for it there. It's age appropriate. They call age appropriate. You got to kind of define age appropriate. You're not like removing the books from total circulation, but I think you do, as a parent, as an educator, as a school board, need to determine, at what point that stuff is introduced. And it's going to, it may vary a little from place to place, but it just seems like the stuff I was hearing was this stuff's in the elementary schools. They can go and, pull that book out as, Johnny the third grader is going to, Johnny the third grader is not interested in the library anyway. And now that you've told him about it, now he's interested, but I think, yes, again, a little common sense and logic. Banning is wrong. When to introduce is a totally different and I think equally viable conversation.
Well, for me, the deal is this, though. Just like I was talking earlier about the Iowa, the Catholic after-school program, and then the Satanic after-school program in the public school. Even in a high school level, if your high school child is interested in this subject, then a public library, the city library, would be the place for that book. Sure. Not the high school. Even though the clientele is mature enough to decide to read it or not, I feel like then you've got to allow all sorts of sexuality books.
No, that's true.
Not so normal, gay sex and human on human. So where I'm bestiality. They have sex with dead people.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you that the public library is the better place for that than the school. But if it's going to be in a school setting, then it needs to be introduced at the higher level, not at all levels, because now it has to be equal for all students. No, it doesn't. Sorry, it doesn't. There's a time and a place, and maybe the place is the higher end of public school. Maybe it's not. That's for the school boards and the parents to decide. But public
electives, and you can't take sex ed, whatever they call it, without parental approval.
Right.
I mean, I dig it. If you had a high school, a public library in the high school where it was a section for those type books,
right,
where you just go browse through them. But with the permission slip, you are allowed to check one out.
Right.
I mean, there's ways around it.
Well, there are.
Continue.
There are ways around it, and I think it can, it could come to a decision that could be reasonable on most ends. I think, as usual, extremism in either direction sucks. The most civil, logical, larger than everything else middle ground population could figure this out. It's that you have to entertain and endure both sides of extremism that make a whole lot of noise and don't get a whole lot done.
There's that. When it comes to public schools, that all things have to be allowed if one thing's allowed. So
unless the public deems otherwise.
Well, I was telling the story.
Now fly your tail up out of this place in the name of Jesus.
I was telling the story about what's going on in my hometown, Dearborn, with the book banning thing, and the issues getting blurred. We're no longer talking about books in the public school library. We're talking about our right as LGBT to exist. And I go, Quit allowing other people to tell you you don't belong somewhere.
Right.
And I don't believe that every single person that wants books banned is a transphobe or homophobe. I believe it's a completely different story. To each their own, but these books don't belong in a public school. That's their point of view.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Again, to what extent, if any, and that's their side of it, and reasonably and thoughtfully presented, and you're going to get a lot more consideration than waving signs and screaming and yelling and punching people out. That doesn't get you anywhere except hopefully the jail.
Like I was saying, the transgender person trying to speak last night at the meeting, everybody's booing her or them so that they are booed, so they're drowned out.
Drowned out, right.
So in other words, we only want our side heard.
Right.
And that is not America. That's what's been going on in our politics for the past 6 years.
Right.
That is not the way it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
You can take this election coming up and shove it in your butt. You can take the midterm coming up, wipe your butt with the ballot. That's what you do. You get your absentee ballot in the mail, wipe your butt with it, and throw it in the garbage. No votes for any of these clowns. How that? How about that? Not one vote cast for anybody. Why? None of them are worthy. I shouldn't say none of them.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, they're having a harder and harder time proving their worth legitimately without it backfiring and going to hell in a handbasket the minute they get elected.
How can it make sense to have such a stake in something, a multi-million-dollar stake in a public servant position? That is the alarming thing that we don't think of.
Right.
That's the root thing right there. Why is this? They're spending millions of dollars on television advertisement alone to get their message out.
Mm-hmm.
You want to serve the public so bad. You want to be a public servant so bad that you're willing to spend millions of dollars to do so.
On a job that pays,
for a freaking minute. It's a scam. We have been bamboozled.
Yeah. Very often, yes. I mean, there's very few exceptions where this seems to work out in a way that most people like and are satisfied with.
It's two wings on the same corrupt bird, right? You've got the Democratic side, you got the Republican side. Two wings on the same crooked bird, both flying in the same direction like a kayaking team. What do you call the rowing teams?
Oh, right.
Such precision. And I was fortunate enough when I was visiting my family in New Jersey. They live right down the street from Princeton.
Okay.
And we were kayaking one day and we were able to see them cruise by. Dude, they go fast. Like we ain't even gonna beat them in my boat that I got now. Because why? Because they work as a team.
Mm-hmm.
Same as the evil bird we call government now. They're fighting. The division is the victory. They don't want white people and black people to cohesive and be cohesive. No, there's no profit in that. You can't have everybody's voice heard. American people have spoke quite loudly about Roe versus Wade.
Mm-hmm.
Most people oppose it and say the women have the right.
Mm-hmm.
Women should have the right to choose. And I say the same thing. However, let's teach our young ladies and young men about the importance of proper decision-making and preparation.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely. We're all caught up in what happens after the fact when so much of it could be, so many situations could be prevented with, the right education, the right direction. It's just that's just plain simple truth. Now, what happens afterwards, and in the case of health and safety, that's a different issue, and people should have the right to choose.
That's the core of our country.
It's you and whatever God you believe in are gonna work that out later, but that's on you. It's not on me to decide for you or anyone else to decide for you.
So, not to switch gears, but we're switching gears. The American Music Awards, the nominees came out. The nominations came out for the 2022 awards.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the story. We're going to talk about that later.
Okay.
But music, let's talk about, since we're talking about banning books and censorship and everything, right? Jamaica has banned something very controversial.
What's that?
Let me see. I'm going to find this story. And we're going to talk about it because now that we're talking about all of this
banning stuff,
censorship,
right,
and banning books and all those things, it's important to talk about these things.
Sure.
And I'm going to find it.
Sure.
Also, later on, we're talking about horror movies. Are they still a thing? And one of them has people passing out, apparently.
They've never been a thing for me, but yeah, I think they're a thing still. At least people that I know and associate with and hang around with. There's some of them are like anything else. Take it to the take it to the edge, and they're all in. You know.
Let's see. So, broadcast authorities in Jamaica have banned music and television buying crime. Jamaica's Broadcasting Authority has banned content that, quote, glorifies illegal activity such as drugs and gun use.
Okay.
End quote.
Mm-hmm.
This new rule covers television and radio, including music. They list specifically what is off limits: scamming, drug abuse, illegal use of firearms, cannot be promoted, swear words, or near sounding replacements are banned. So you can't be singing, "I'm the frickin' man, gonna kill you with my can." You can't sing it. You can't say frickin', right? You can't go, "I hope all you bad guys go to heck." Bad word. We talked about this last week, the insinuation. Remember, we talked about bad words and
right,
how we swear and
right,
how,
right.
And now you go, but you can't say frickin', because if you're a kid, you might as well just have said the F word because you're replacing it. Well, now we're doing it. Well, we're not. Jamaica,
right,
is banning illegal activity, glorifying it in your music. Now, artists are criticizing it, of course. Artists are saying music is a reflection of life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But this comes amid high levels of violent crime in Jamaica. In 2021, they had the highest murder rates in Latin America and the Caribbean.
You do hear things about Jamaica that can be scary. I mean, it's a great vacation place, but you never venture off of the vacation property, basically.
Exactly. That is the vacation. Did you really see Jamaica when you didn't leave the Hilton?
No, exactly. You saw the
saved $3,000, but hey, what do I know? You got to tell everybody you went. Nobody cares, but hey, you earned that one. Ding ding. Scratch off totem pole on that. Totem pole on that one. So Jamaica's Broadcasting Authority says this. They go, songs, if we allow public airwaves to broadcast songs and television shows that glorify illegal activity, that gives the wrong impression that criminality is an acceptable feature of Jamaican culture and society. Well, guess what? You're right. It would be. Look at us. We're living proof.
I don't think it makes it any more acceptable. I think it reflects reality to a point. I also think that it sometimes overinflates and distorts reality. And that's where now again it's interpretation. You have to know, or at least understand that there's something out there that may not be the truth, or it may be a stretch of the truth. But if you're gonna totally ban that, you've got to ban, all kinds of things.
Yeah. Well, on one hand, I understand.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, I go, see, in America, we can change the channel.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
funny, though, because the other night I was watching, and I recommend it. It was I got it on YouTube, and I go through my YouTube TV, and I go to documentaries, and it was from the 70s, and it's about television.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about All in the Family. They talk about the Jeffersons. The Jeffersons came about because the Black Panthers were pissed about All in the Family.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't because of the racial jokes that were actually talking about real life things.
Mm-hmm.
They said, why do you have to portray a black family as not good enough? Because they had the good times.
Right.
The Good Times was, and John Amos was the father in Good Times.
Right.
He said, this was the first show that had a black family with a father in the picture.
Mm-hmm.
So it started to show the black family with husband and wife.
Mm-hmm.
The dad didn't leave, wasn't incarcerated, worked hard, was underpaid and overworked.
But parents that were caring and focused.
Yeah, and the Black Panthers said, why are you portraying us as less than? So Norman Lear said, you know what, you're right. And then here was born, well, we're moving on up, the Jeffersons.
Right.
Now you've got a black family that worked hard for a living and made their way to a deluxe apartment in the sky.
Right.
So TV back then, even people were very upset. I mean, they used the N-word and everything on the Jeffersons. They used the word on All in the Family.
Mm-hmm.
And they used, they talked about gays in there. And Meathead Mike says, being having a feminine side doesn't make you queer. And Archie Bunker says, I never said that makes you queer. Being a fag makes you queer.
Right.
And nowadays, people would be like, ban it all.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right.
When the white got married to the black girl, then the Jeffersons called George Jefferson the N-word. People would throw their wigs out the window.
Mm-hmm.
But back then, it captured the essence of the beginning of what was the fight for equality.
Sure.
For the African-American race in America.
And ironically, the fact that was broadcast back then and that was, quote, allowed, whereas now, if you do it, it's not, quote, allowed. Is that in the name of progress, or is it not? Are we just disregarding what reality is? Like anything else, like you said, here in America, we can change the channel. God knows now we can change the channel 500 times. And so
that was funny, though, for America. Our American standards were always sex was taboo, but we can watch violence on TV. And desensitizes people to it. And then I'm going to put that out there right now. If you I cannot play the game Grand Theft Auto. No. You have to do despicable things to be good at that game. And I can't get out of a car and beat up a walker by and take their money and then run them over with my car for 500 points. But that is literally the game. And we're letting our kids play these games. And I do believe that plays a small part in it. It desensitizes us to it. The first time you quit your job is the hardest. After that, they get easier. First kill is the hardest. After that, it's easier. And I'm talking even deer hunting. Deer hunters, some people love it, but others go, I don't want to, but this is the nature of it and everything. So there's still a sad part of killing the deer for some people, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
But say you're an assassin, you're a hit person. The first time you do it's the worst. After that, it gets easier. That's human nature,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's why you get back on the bike after you fall, right?
Mm-hmm.
You keep doing it over and over. You want to learn to play guitar? Muscle memory. You want to learn to play the flute? Muscle memory. It's all muscle memory. Football players, why do you think they run the same route over and over? Why do you think the quarterback has to throw the ball the same way over and over? Muscle memory. Same with our brains, which we barely use.
Yeah, true.
So again, we're talking about banning things, and at what point does the government have the right to say? Because if you remember, Bob, back in the 80s, Dee Snider from Twisted Sister on Capitol Hill talking in front of Congress, that's where the explicit lyrics label came from.
Mm-hmm.
Censorship thing in America has been around since the 70s for music. In the 80s, it came to fruition and came to the head. But
right. But now with that label, and again, maybe that was a solution to the problem at that time, that just because if something has a label and it's truth, quote, truth in advertising, then you know what it is that you're getting and you can make your decision about it and you can make your decision for your kids and your family about it. Whereas if you don't have that and you don't know, then it's kind of sprung on you. Well, that's different, you know.
See, and there's another thing too.
So is that really is that really censorship then if you're just telling it like it is?
Yeah. Well, I mean, some people will agree and some people won't. To me, I go, it's not going to stop anything, right?
Right.
I mean, you've got people that are saying, wait a minute. Jamaica's artists even are chiming in, but American artists too. But they're saying you can't stop the artists from singing about what they see around them and grew up around.
Mm-hmm.
And then one says, was Jamaica the only country that has children? Because the same children listen to these same songs everywhere.
Right. But Jamaicans and Jamaica's government versus other countries and their government and opinions. Again, opinions are a dime a dozen and everybody has one. And collectively they form policy. And if it comes down to, you know, how many people are on what side of anything. It's the simple math of it, unfortunately.
This is a part two for them, though. 2009, Jamaica banned daggering, right? They banned music promoting sex, violence, murder, and arson when daggering, a type of sexually suggestive dancing, gained popularity.
Mm-hmm. Oh, dancing's always been a thing, and in America too. I mean, you can think of all the times back in the day when certain kinds of dancing. I mean, the whole Dirty Dancing movie, and you know, the perception of dancing and how horrible it was to do certain ones.
Red Corvette, that song's banned. That's about a woman's vajayjay.
Mm-hmm.
Brown Eyed Girl. You got to be told what a brown eye is. That chocolate almond won't make any freaking sense to you at all, man. I guess.
Right.
But you want to ban sexual songs? Aerosmith is out the door. We never even heard of them.
Yeah. Well, so much of music is sex and love songs. It's, you know, how many. Yeah, you listen. You put 10 songs in a row on the radio, and 7 of them are love songs, one way or another, relationship, whatever. Why is that all there is? You know.
You heard that song? Loretta Lynn and Conway Twitty did it, and a lot of other people. You're the reason our kids are ugly, or something like that. You're the reason our children are ugly.
No, I never heard that one.
We'll have to pop it up here in a little bit.
That would be interesting. No, I can't say I ever heard that one. Now, maybe again, but is it telling the truth? Is it?
Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. The hornier you are, the better I look.
And also, the lighting means a lot too. Ugly goes away in the dark, you know.
I look better face down, ass up. There's no question. Today, going, my God, how do I get my ass in the picture? Like I did for our promotion today, because I didn't get a good video today. I didn't have time. So put a picture of my ass up there with the with the logo saying, here, log on and download the app and look at my butt.
Ass of the day.
Let's see. Yeah. Of course, it's going to take a minute for this to pop up and everything, but that's all right. Yeah. Censoring things. See, first of all, censorship should come from the home.
Right.
It shouldn't come from people telling you to. However, you've got to take into account public domain, public schools. If you allow this, you've got to allow everything like this, even this and that you don't agree with.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard for people to deal with.
Well, it is. Because it's sort of removing the point of what censorship would be in the first place. And, if you're either allowing or not allowing all of something, it's an all or nothing thing. That isn't maybe necessarily what the initial point was. It's like, there's certain things that you may find offensive that I don't find offensive. And if you're going to ban it, well, then you got to ban both of the things that we also probably don't, we don't find offensive. So it's a tough thing. Doesn't seem to be a right or wrong answer.
Yeah, it's a song. The reason our kids are ugly, that is offensive. Take it down now.
I'm offended. Who are you calling ugly?
That's, to me, Bob Seger wrote it best. Turn the page.
Yeah.
Turn the dial. I don't like listening to certain kinds of music.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, that's not true, I don't think. I like almost all kinds of music, at least one or two songs from it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like rap. I like hip-hop. I like country. I'm a rock and roll chick. I like rock and roll. That's my groove. I love rock and roll.
Mm-hmm.
But I like Eminem. I like Snoop Dogg. I don't buy their stuff, but I buy their songs.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't go out and buy the Snoop Dogg starter kit T-shirts and stuff like that. I like some of their music.
Sure.
And everything I like.
I would say the more that certain music is around, certain types. It's all the different types, but the more you are exposed to it and the more you can absorb it, it becomes. You talk about desensitizing. I mean, I laugh now when I listen to the early Eminem music, and what an uproar that was and how crazy it was. And I had young kids at the time, and they were. Every time you turn around, they were trying to listen to Eminem. I go, "You're not listening to that. You're 6. Stop it!"
Never heard of Eminem. We would have never heard of Snoop Dogg. We would have never heard of Dr. Dre. We would have never heard of any of these people if there was censorship based on the morality of a government.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a dangerous thing. I'd rather choose at home what my kids watch and don't watch.
Sure.
Choose at home what my kids read and don't read. In order for me to do that, you can't make available controversial stuff in a little kid's elementary school library. But then what's the question? What's offensive? Right?
Mm-hmm.
What's offensive?
True. Well, true. And
some
of it is, again, time. Is anything new has a better opportunity to be offensive than anything that you've had time to be around and absorb and digest and figure out now that you know these or you know more about it or you've heard it, then, you can judge accordingly. Instead, just the fact that I laugh now, I chuckle at Eminem situation, and at that point that was young kids, that was 6-7 years old, and they're wanting to be Slim Shady and do all this stuff, and it's like every generation has their thing that freaks parents out about. Now I go back, well, now that Eminem's coming up on the oldies stations, it's like
in 1950 nobody talked like Eminem sings about,
right?
Like people just didn't talk that way. It was more proper. And I know there was people who cussed and everything, but we were new words and phrases.
It wasn't made public and glorified. Yeah.
But so Jamaica, you can't sing about sex, violence, murder, arson, or anything that has to do with violence, anything that has to do with illegal activities such as drugs, gun use. So you're not singing about anything other than Tiptoe Through the Tulips.
Right.
We wouldn't. So Guns N' Roses, rock and roll wouldn't be around. Rap wouldn't. So it's a very slippery slope when you start censoring things. That's why it's important for parents to be able to say, my kids don't watch it. We used to watch South Park all the time. Right. My brother moved down to South Carolina 21 years ago or so, 22 years ago. And he says he don't watch South Park no more. I go, why? He goes, I'm raising a son. I can't have him listening to that. I go, we used to watch it at my house. I had 4 kids growing up. Didn't matter then.
Right.
But when you have your child, you go, no, my child don't have the same rights as a regular citizen. We censor it. We're not watching it. Censored himself too. So,
well, and again, a lot of it comes back to age appropriate, and that in itself is a dictate and a determination that has to be made, and it doesn't have to be governed. That's something that should be done in the home. Your 10-year-old may be a heck of a lot smarter than your 16-year-old and able to handle something easier. So it's not always come down to age, but the whole point is when you expose someone to something, and
rock and roll and banning books and all that. How can we combine the two together? Only on Sapphire's Soup du Jour do we make them big enough to fit this story.
And it all fits.
AC/DC releasing a child's picture book in November.
Really?
AC/DC ABDC. That's the name of it.
ABDC.
This is a children's picture book for preschoolers aiming to teach the alphabet through the lens of rock and roll legends AC/DC. The picture they've got is Angus Young with his fingers in devil horns in his school child outfit and going, this is going to teach me how to do the alphabets? F-U. How's that for the first 2 letters? The book, officially titled The AC/DC ABDC High Voltage Alphabet, released November 11th, or will be released November 11th via Love Police Books.
Interesting.
The latest in a series of music-centered educational materials from Love Police Books, including M is for Metal, Never Mind Your P's and Q's, Here's the Punk Alphabet, and the A, B, C, and W, the Country and Western Alphabet book. I mean, you're the reason that children are ugly.
It's creative. Like, give them that.
We've all got dreams, Bob. We all have dreams, right? Well, Managing Director of Love Police, Brian Taranto, said through a statement that the AC/DC collaboration was a dream come true. When you're a little kid and your dream is to write a child's book of alphabets from AC/DC, I guess I admire you. I'm not sure.
Well, now do we ban this? Yeah, do we ban this book, or do we let it sit next to the gay book? I don't know.
Sounds pretty gay to me. The mayor has done a sweet and rocking job. We're looking forward to educating another generation of rock and rollers. It's a kid's book, but any AC/DC music fan will find something on every page.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. B is for butthole. I mean, oh, lordy, lordy. ACDC going into preschoolers' books. Gotta like it.
Sitting right next to the Barney books.
You would think more along that, Yeah, more along the line, but maybe not so much. All right, we are way past break time. We're going to break. You're listening to Sapphire's Soup du Jour on Hot 93.97. We'll be right back. Keep it loud.
Dancing like they freaking.
Yeah. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This is your captain with no name speaking, and I'm here to rock your world with a tale that will soon be classic about a woman you already know. No prostitute she, but the mayor of your brain.
Hi, I'm Sapphire. When I'm in the Detroit, Michigan area, I always go to one of Detroit's premier LGBT bars, the Hayloft Saloon, where men meet men and everybody's welcome, or the Cheers of the LGBT Detroit bars, Adam's Apple, where they know what time you're coming in, where you're sitting, what you're drinking, and what time you're going home. Find them on Facebook today, Hayloft Saloon and Adam's Apple.
Hey, back to it.
Hey.
Yeah. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This is your captain with no name speaking, and I'm here to rock your world with a tale that will soon be classic about a woman you already know. No prostitute she, but the mayor of your brain. Control.
You ready?
Our story begins in a schoolyard. A little girl skipping rope with her friends. A tisket, a tasket, no lunch in her basket. Your school books for the fight she would be in one day over this hoodie. She got beat for some clothes in her rep. With her chin up, she scolded, all your all's molded. When I'm rich on your neck, I will step. That step she did to the straight A's. Then college, the master degree. She hired the heifers that jumped her and made every one of them work for free. No, why? So, what if my sisters are trifling? They just don't know. She said, Mama didn't tell them what she told me. Girl, you need control.
You ready? Control.
9397 Network and Hot 93.97 presents Sapphire's Soup du Jour with Just Bob, stirring the pot and serving the latest soup.
The Jay the Great Show, starring Jay the Great. The Honest Truth Show, starring 2K Bentley. The Good Times Show, starring Princess of All and Cujo Speaks. Ty's Take Today every Saturday afternoon. Marcus Divine every Saturday. The legendary House of Shade, Talk to Me Pretty. Check out the U-Store and be the first to own the newest music. Hot 93.97 and the 93.97 Network. Download the 93.97 Network app today. Welcome to Adam's Apple, your neighborhood LGBT bar serving all your favorite drink. With friendly and knowledgeable bartenders that keep the party going and make sure your needs are met.
It's the Cheers of the gay bar. Your bartenders know who's coming in, where they're going to sit, how long you're going to be.
Kick back and enjoy some fresh air on their large enclosed heated patio. Open year-round with music and weekly barbecues. Karaoke every Thursday night where you're the star. And Mexican Fiesta on the last Monday of every month. Located at 18931 West Warren, Detroit, Adam's Apple.
I got your money, don't you worry. I said, hey, baby, I got your money. Hey, dirty. Baby, I got your money, don't you worry. I said, hey, baby, I got your money.
Yo, so I glanced at the girl glanced at me. I whispered in the air, you wanna be with me? You wanna look pretty though in my video. Oh no, just dance if you caught up in the Holy Ghost trance. If you stop, I'ma put the killer ants in your pants. I'm the ODB, as you can see. FBI, don't you be watching me. I don't want no problems, cause I put you down in the ground where you cannot be found. I'm just dirt dog trying to make some money. So give me my streaks and give me my honey. Radios play this all day, every day. Recognize I'm a fool and you love.
That's for f***ing with me, you know business, born insecure mother.
Sing it!
Baby, I got your money.
I'm just sing it, girls!
I said, hey,
Just sing it right now!
baby, I got your money.
If 31 is saying, I think y'all should give him his money.
Baby, I got your money.
That's how I like it.
All right. Little ODB to get us back onto the show on a Friday morning. Halfway through October already. The 14th of October to be exact. National Be Bald and Be Free Day. The hell, whatever. What do you feel? Free with no hair? Some people say I feel free with my hair flowing through the wind on my motorcycle. Well, if you're bald, you just got flies stuck to your scalp. National Dessert Day, or is it Desert Day? Must be dessert. Why would you celebrate a desert day? I don't know. Well, in light of the Roe versus Wade overturning, we've got different ways we're going about Planned Parenthood. What a controversial phrase that is. So we've heard of the Nutcracker. This gives a different meaning to Nutcracker. Planned Parenthood and a doctor with a mobile clinic dubbed the Nutcracker is offering vasectomies in the U.S., in the Midwest. And he's doing it mobile.
No?
Yeah. Doing it mobile, he'll come to you. If you want your coin purse cut open, he's the one. You know what an empty coin purse is, right?
Tell
It's
us.
when they take your nuts out of your scrotum.
Right.
Empty coin purse.
That's what I figured it was. But then I questioned it because
A mobile vasectomy shop. Huge demand for vasectomies prompted by the U.S. Supreme Court ruling that removed the right to abortion.
for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
Yeah, there's always an equal and opposite one, but little knee jerk. But vasectomies are reversible, correct?
Supposedly.
I mean, you just stretch the tubes back out, you clip off both sides where you burned it together, and you stretch them out a little and reconnect it. A couple of good old fashions to get the juices flowing properly back through there. You don't want to be shooting blanks, right?
Well, I was going to say, and hopefully that all works properly. It probably a little more difficult to put back together than it is to to take apart. But
so the vehicle has been dubbed the Nutcracker. On the road, they just offered free 40 free vasectomies in Iowa. He also plans to offer discounted vasectomies at his regular clinic in Des Moines.
Public service.
And I never knew there was a day this way, but there's a World Vasectomy Day, which now includes a year-round focus and a host of activities coming up in November.
Activities. That's fascinating.
Yeah, activities. You can get your nuts cut off. Yeah, great. Good. Yeah, I'm in. I did it. I had a vasectomy years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Back when I didn't want to have kids anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can't have kids anymore.
And now you want to have kids, right?
Vasectomies are performed far less than tubal ligations of the female. Even though they're cheaper, have a shorter recovery period, and require only local anesthesia. Yes, you will be a literal numbnuts for a while.
Yes, you will.
Numbnuts.
Yeah.
Numbnuts.
Numbnuts.
Who you calling numbnuts?
Roe versus Wade overturned. Since 1973, it was the law of the land, making a federal directive of our women, American women, have the right to choose what they want with their body. And now all of a sudden, Big Daddy knows better. I don't get it. I don't like it. It's wrong. Women have the right to choose. Let's educate according to your beliefs. If you believe it's wrong for women to have an abortion, teach your children not to put them in a position. And I know you're going to say, what about rape and incest? Apparently, we have a serious moral problem if that has to be a guideline of guidance in our country.
Mm-hmm.
You need a stipulation for rape and incest because putting him in prison forever isn't working.
Right. Yeah. You are correct.
So Dobbs versus Jackson, ruling that overturned Roe versus Wade. You can thank them. 53% increase in vasectomies, or seeking information for vasectomies for it. So a lot of people, and that's a responsible thing to do. Educate yourself. Sit down with your loved one and say, what's the best plan moving forward for us? If you want to have children, but just right now, not right now, vasectomies and tubal ligations are not the answer.
Nope. No, that's a more permanent solution.
Yeah, but if you're saying, look, we just got together, we're in college, we want to get married, but we got a goal, we got a 5-year plan for kids. But man, that looks good right now. I want me son. Well, you need to take the proper precautions. It's really that simple. It's not foolproof. It's simple. You wrap that rascal, you pull it out, you do all the above, rhythm method, pull out method, wrap that rascal, double wrap it if you need to.
It does seem, when you look at it that way, it's all relatively simple and it's scientific. And if you don't put something where you don't need it to be to create a situation that you're not looking for right then, I mean, gee, does this come back to a little personal responsibility somehow? And
it's not foolproof, but it sure does lower the chances. And not all women are using abortion as a birth control method, but it's important to teach the way we want our children to go, train them up the way they will go.
Because at that point, that's the way they know. So, you know.
Deshaun Watson back in the news. People are going, that's old news, Sapphire. No, it's not old news. It's new news. The 26th known lawsuit filed against Deshaun Watson, now quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, accusing him of inappropriate sexual misconduct or sexual assault during massages. Now, we're going to break this down a little bit, and I'm going to hold a small unpopular opinion. When you can walk away, walk away. And I have a little issue with this, and we're going to break it down. You're going to help me understand this a little bit. Okay. A lawsuit filed Thursday in Harris County, Texas. Today is Friday. Yesterday, in Harris County, Texas, Watson was officially accused of soliciting the plaintiff over Instagram with a direct message for a massage at a Houston hotel room in December of 2020, while he was a member of the Houston Texans. The lawsuit states that during the session, Deshaun Watson continually pressured the plaintiff into massaging his private area before he removed his towel and offered to let her get on top. The plaintiff refused to have sex with him. However, he was able to pressure her into oral sex. Okay, that is sex.
Mm-hmm.
And Watson paid $300 for a service that normally cost $115. She's suffering from severe depression and anxiety. Why didn't she just say no and walk away?
Well,
Not victim blaming. Don't categorize me as that. I'm allowed to question the thought process of what's going on because I know that if I don't want to suck your blink, I'm not doing it.
right.
You can't
Well,
trick me into it. Oh, geez, look what fell in my mouth. Oh, gee.
and it also depends on the circumstances. That's a perfect example of get up and walk away. When you've got a gun pointed at your head, now you are the victim and you don't have a choice, perhaps. But in that kind of a situation, where it has all kinds of reputations for all kinds of things, you don't have to accept the client. You don't have to do any of that. So when you do, if nothing else, you can feel regret about it. You could be depressed about it, but
it's
you
your
can't.
decision.
But make it. It was your own choice. It wasn't somebody else doing it to you.
See, I have a hard time swallowing this one, for lack of better phrase.
No,
I mean, and they even said, we know this story will bring on hard conversations, criticism, and even victim blaming. The strength and bravery of these other women gave my client the courage to stand up and speak out. She seeks justice not only for herself and her own healing, but for the more than 20 women who refused to be shamed into silence and the victims who have yet to come forward. But there's a choice made, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I decide I do not want to perform oral sex on you, I'm not.
Right.
If you force me to by grabbing me and physically now feloniously assaulting me,
Mm-hmm.
now that's called sexual assault. Now that's called rape.
And yes, you are a victim at that point.
Pressured into it, I see. And I, by no means do I want this not to be addressed, because men in positions of power need to learn not to put women in these situations.
Right. No.
Period.
Sure.
If you don't want it, I don't want you to do it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Period. I would hate. I don't understand how that would feel. Right? How can that feel good? Knowing she's crying.
Right. No, knowing that you're making somebody feel that badly for you to do something that you could very easily take care of yourself.
Like a warm apple pie, you know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So 23 of these lawsuits have been settled, but one remains outstanding. Now 2 remain outstanding. 2 other women filed charges but never sued him.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what that means. So in July, the Houston Texans reached a settlement with 30 women who made claims they were prepared to, or made claims to make against the NFL and against the team, to which they said was enabling his behavior by not stopping it. Now, here's the trick, though. 2 grand juries in Texas declined to pursue criminal charges earlier this year.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
People, man. I mean, but the thing about it is, this particular case, you look at it and you go, for your own, forget guilt and blame and shaming, whatever. That's not it. Why didn't you just leave?
Right. Well, that's why I have a problem with some of that. It's because you did have a choice. You made a choice.
Assault. Now it's forcible, but persuading you by saying, "Look, I'm going to pay you $300 instead of $115." Well, I really shouldn't do it. I don't want to, but
But now I go out and buy myself something nice. Yeah.
And I can't speak for victims who feel victimized. I mean, but at the same time, you look at this and you go, but is this? It's obviously not your classic forcible rape,
Right.
but if you can manipulate somebody's state of mind to get them to do something they wouldn't want to normally do, who do you place the blame on? I mean, if you go, hey, how about a Hummer? And I go, no. And you go, I'll give you $200. And I go, no. And you go, 500. And I go to town. It's hard to blame you. We negotiated a deal.
Yeah.
Because you found my spot doesn't make you wrong. But
no, you're right. There's plenty of, many times when it is a legitimate claim, a legitimate accusation. Somebody was victimized by force, by intimidation, whatever. Now, if the story would have been, if you don't, then I'm going to do blah. Well, now you're being intimidated. I'm waving a few hundreds at you, and you're going, okay. Well, then, no, it wasn't forced. You still could have said no.
Right. And here's another thing, though. So Watson makes a statement and says, I'll continue to stand on my innocence. Just because, settlements and things like that happen does not mean that a person is guilty for anything. This was what he said on August 18th after a settlement agreement. He said, I feel like a person has an opportunity to stand on his innocence and prove that. And we prove that from a legal side and just going to continue to push forward as an individual and as a person. Well, I question this, though. If I did nothing wrong and you accuse me of wrongdoing, why would I settle out of court when they already decided they're not going to prosecute me? Nothing to see here, move along. If I did nothing to you and you're lying to me about me, why am I going to reward you with the settlement? Why would I not say, It's excuses, in my opinion, to say, well, I don't want to go through the hassle of going to court. I don't want to deal with it. No, my name and my reputation is at stake here.
Mm-hmm.
And I will not be known as somebody who settled out of court with a bunch of women. Why isn't that the term? Why isn't that the tone being set?
Well, and I think, again, when you say a bunch of, that's a different, that does set a pattern. That does set something in your opinion of that person. If they do settle out of court 26 times, well, guess what? Why would, there's always going to be the chance that there's an opportunist there to make a false claim to make a buck. Sorry, I think it happens more than we hear about. Similarly, paying it off, getting it out of your way. It's one thing if it happened once and you didn't have an established pattern of this. And again, 26, that's to me.
I know. I mean,
that screams of something, but again, if it was
time, but yet you're going to, so you accuse me of something. We go to court over it, and they go, we don't even have enough to stand on here. We can't even take this to trial.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to pay you for what I didn't do? No, what? No, that makes no sense to me. That's not what innocent people do.
Well, no, but at that point, it's almost like the table has spun around now, and now you're being extorted for money for that person to keep their mouth shut. It's like, okay, well, because if their motivation in the first place was to call someone out and make them, in the public eye a bad thing
for their actions.
Right. Well, so now if you're gonna file a suit and you're just say, no, I'm just making it known. I know I can't win, but I'm going to, publicize this unless you pay me or until you pay me a settlement. Then now have you not totally turned the tables, and who can claim to be a victim then?
Yeah. The irony in all this is funny. It's not funny. There's nothing funny about it. But the irony is Deshaun Watson was suspended for 11 games, fined $5 million, and has to go mandatory treatment programs. he's allowed to re-enter the Browns training facility this week. He just went back to practice. He was banned since August 30th as part of the settlement. He cannot start practicing until November 14th, and he's not eligible to play until week 13 when the Browns travel to face the Houston Texans. Wouldn't you know it?
Some irony.
Going back to your home team where you've been allegedly and you settled with 23 people about something you claim you didn't do. I'm sorry. That doesn't sit with somebody with integrity.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't. If I didn't do it, I'm not apologizing for it.
Right.
Right. And I'm certainly not paying you for it.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing says, man, I'm glad I got away with this crap more than I'll pay you for it anyway. Bitch, if I didn't do it, I ain't paying you a damn penny. Not one red cent goes to you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You lied about me, and I'm going to, and I'm not saying that they did. I'm saying if that was the case.
Mm-hmm.
If you accuse me of something I did not do at all, period, false accusations, you will not get me to settle. I don't care about the money. That's not what it's about.
No, and quite frankly, maybe I should be suing you for your false accusations.
So that's the way I look at it. If I didn't do it, I'm not paying. And I'll believe me, 26 people did not get it wrong.
No, well, that's the thing. I mean, there's so many.
And I honestly think that we do enable this. We do enable this. That's why people don't want to say nothing about Brett Favre. He allegedly stole from the welfare system in the poorest state in the country so that the college his daughter attends can have a nice volleyball facility. I mean, but we don't. Brett Favre, he's a hero. Great football player. Can't be bad, right? That's part of the problem. They're enabled by even us, by Google and goggling over them when we see them out in public going, oh my God. Who gives a crap? They're people.
Mm-hmm.
Cristobal and I talked about that, the comedian we had on last Friday.
Right.
Talking about celebrity encounters and how the people hold people to such high esteem and everything. And it's like, they're just popular. Like they don't hold any more merit to anything in your life.
Right. Well, and that also goes back to when we talked even before that about role models. And if you're in a certain position, I guess, you have to expect that some of that comes with the territory. But if you don't put yourself out there as a role model, or you don't, you have a life to live too, like the rest of us. And, it doesn't necessarily always go in the most, visually pleasant way.
It's important for people to see people like them succeed, whether it be black young men, whether it be women, girls, seeing their mother be a CEO, not the executive secretary. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's important to see people. Barack Obama becoming president was supposed to break down barriers. It was supposed to get rid of all of this nonsense of who can be qualified based on skin color.
Mm-hmm.
That's ludicrous. So when he became president, I'm not even talking whether it was a good presidency, a bad presidency. I'm talking about what that did for a part of American culture.
Mm-hmm.
It showed young men they can be the president. Just because you're a black man in America does not stigmatize you to second level.
No, absolutely not. But it also doesn't mean that now Barack Obama or whoever it is that you're using as the example of what you can do doesn't make that person have to live their life in a way that you deem satisfactory. I mean, short of a priest taking a vow and to live a certain way, which we all know doesn't. I mean, they're all humans, sorry, we're all humans, even the people that you put on a pedestal. So when they fall off once in a while,
Oh, how hard to fall from grace.
Right, but they're held to a much higher, consequence than you or I, when really you sit down next to them and have a meal together, or sit down and have a cup of coffee, they're the same, they're the same as you and me. So,
and again, I do not want to sound like I'm not believing the victim or anything like that. I'm just simply pointing out, if you have a chance to get out of the situation, get out of the situation. And if you choose to do it, even though you know it's not the thing you want to do, don't hindsight and blame someone else. Make them force you. I mean, I'm not doing it if I don't want to. And then if you force me, that's a whole other charge.
Well, sure. And that's where I think, it makes a huge difference. And I can't, personal responsibility. You made a choice.
And again, this is the enabling part. You've got a coach going, I just got to field the best team. But if it was your daughter that was the masseuse, would you still feel like the best player on the team, even if he raped my daughter, allegedly?
No, rape my daughter, no. Ask my daughter to do something, for money that she could say no to and walk away from. Not the classiest of all moves, but hardly criminal.
Yeah. I mean, that's important to know. We got to learn to not allow ourselves to be in the situations like that. And you cannot, and I'm not saying, don't put yourself in that situation. He's wrong, but he offers it. He asks about it. And if she says, no, buddy, I'm not, that's not what this is about. That's the end of it. The end of the conversation.
Right. But, and if it continues to be pushed, then you just, like you said, you remove yourself from that situation. Say, no, I guess we can't do, this isn't going to work for us. Have a nice day. And
now, devil's advocate. What if this is a place, because we don't know the place, we don't know anything about it. What if this is a place that's kind of where these guys go? And it's kind of like the thing. You kind of go, hey, you know, the proverbial, hey, a little happy ending, a little extra something, you want to do TV. And so
it still goes back to, if you put yourself there, then you're implying that you are willing to accept offers.
Which I am, by the way. It's a weekend.
I was saying, not that there's anything wrong with that, but
blow out realness all weekend.
But and if it's something that you didn't know it was like that, I mean, and that's possible too, not to know any better. But once the situation was presented, you go, oh no, gee, I'm in the wrong place. I need to leave now.
Sitting here looking at the news, North Carolina shooting, suspect in custody after mass shooting, 5 dead, an off-duty cop and all that. Yesterday, I had the privilege, honor, and eerie honor of going to film a game in Oxford, Michigan, at Oxford High School.
Oh, wow.
Of November 30th, 2021, school shooting.
Right.
4 students killed, more injured. You see it on the news. It was right in our backyard, man, an hour from home. We go to the ball games with these people, right? It hits home a little harder when it happens in your area.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Driving into that town yesterday for my first time ever going to Oxford, Michigan, I drove in there. It's a beautiful little town. I mean, it's like Mayberry RFD or whatever. It's a beautiful little town, well kept, no litter on the streets. I mean, you could tell people take pride, in their city. It just felt different.
It's so ironic and weird that in that kind of a place, and in a lot of these places, where it's calm, it's very peaceful most of the time, that something like this happens.
And then you're touched by the terror of gun violence.
Right. And then it creates the atmosphere then that, things will never be quite the same.
And then you could kind of feel it. And I knew nothing about anything there. I'd never been there to know the emotion of the place before, because you can kind of pick up on the school's emotion and the gist of them. And
Well, yeah.
having never been there before, and watching the kids, the track team jog by, the girls team, the guys, and just knowing what they went through. And being military, you're walking around the base and you know that we've all been through combat. We've all been through those bad things, or most of us. And it's kind of like we're all in it together, type camaraderie, brother and sisterhood, a fighting force. I felt like it was the kind of same thing there, even though there wasn't a lot of chummy. It was more normal than anything, but just knowing what they had gone through.
It's just something that is in the back of your mind, in the back of their minds, even if, now they're trying, we're back to normal as normal always had been. This was normal, but it now feels normal with it's a tainted normal, I guess. And, you're looking over your shoulder and you're just having weird thoughts and, what's going to happen. And the brain, is very affected by that.
Absolutely. I made extra sure yesterday. Like I made sure I had my badge on, so I identified who I was. I made sure that when I got there, I knew I was way early. I got there like 3 o'clock for a 4:30 game.
Right.
I did everything I could not to stand out, which probably made me stand out. I was waiting for the cops to show up. I mean, but I just felt for that community, and it's just like, and we see that there's nothing about that that's American.
No, and even for as many as tragically have happened and continue to happen, when you look at the population and the size of the country and everything else, it is still such an exception to the rule. It's not like this happens. It's unfortunately happening a lot more now, but yeah, I mean, there's obviously a growth pattern to it that has happened, and nobody's been able to seem to rein in all of us collectively.
On a lot of people, we blame a lot of stuff on Trump. We blame a lot of stuff on Biden. We blame a lot of stuff on the big names.
Yeah.
But what about the like even Maxine Waters? What about the other smaller politicians who are getting up there saying, approach them in the grocery stores, approach them in the restaurants, approach them here, stand up for your thing. You got Donald Trump, we're going to fight. You got the other side, we're going to fight. All of them are guilty of it. And then we become the victims of all this. And when you talk about the school shootings, I mean, we just had a $1 billion settlement, what our verdict for the Frogs are gay dude, Alex Jones. The money doesn't change things, though.
Nope.
Changes the life for some people who get the money. But bring your loved one back. And when I was there yesterday, I was thinking, are the parents of the deceased children here? Because even I was shocked. I was shocked yesterday. I'm sitting in the booth getting ready to film the game. It's 4:30 in the afternoon. I wasn't going to speak a word about it. Business as usual. The elderly guy that sat down next to me was running the clock, started talking to me, and he started talking about it, and he was pissed off. Yeah. I couldn't believe he talked about it. I could not believe it. I was shocked. I never thought anybody would bring it up. In fact, I thought if it was brought up, you'd be looked down upon.
Right.
Like, let us move forward.
Right.
But they can't.
Well, or they're looking, they're still resolving in their mind a way to move forward. That's, like you said, they can't, you're kind of stuck in time in your head.
Kids.
And have to work your way out of it. When you mentioned the parents and that, I think in the tight-knit communities and that, and in general, I think a lot of the kids that, when the kids know each other and they hang out and the parents get to know each other, I think there may be some sort of a comfort in that, in being there, wanting things to be business as usual. And yeah, my kid's not here to be a part of it, but I want good for the rest of these kids, and some of them that you grow very fond of as they get older and they're your kids' friends, and they hang out together and you all become kind of like a little sports family for a while. And
and then all of a sudden, tragedy. But let's not forget this. That kid was failed by many people.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got people that have blood on their hands that didn't pull that trigger.
Sure.
And you have a school's teacher who took a picture of the drawings of him shooting people that morning, and they did not stop it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know anything about this nonsense that took place. What bothered me the most about this story, suspect in custody. No more. New rule. You want to go shooting up everybody? You're next.
Mm-hmm.
Put your hands in the air, drop the gun. I don't care. We're done with this. You gave up your right to your life when you started shooting at innocent people. Period.
Take someone else's, yeah.
Period. Done. No. In fact, thank you for stopping and dropping and putting your hands in the air. Now I can shoot you right in the forehead.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and once
target. You ain't even trying to run. Now you surrendered. Pow. Bye-bye. Jury, executioner, all in one. Done. We watched you kill these people. We know it was you. You're not getting away with it, claiming mental episode. You're dead. Bye-bye. Mom can cry on TV all she wants about her boy.
Mm-hmm.
Done with it, bitch. That's the way it is. Done with it. Done. But no. Suspect in custody. Part of the problem. Part of what happens. We're allowing it. We're enabling it. Make him a star. Mm-mm. No, kill him on the spot. Kill him on the spot. Who cares? What?
But Sapphire, he has civil rights.
Yeah. More civil rights than the civil people do.
Right, exactly.
But we're more worried about who lies and who did this and who did that. Now, I'm not like even the January 6th committee, which I was going to talk about a little bit today, even though I try not to talk too much more about politics than we used to. I try to talk less now than we used to. But to me, who cares? Who cares? We got way bigger problems than what happened a year ago. And I know people are going to go, oh, blah, 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 blah. I don't care. I don't care about Donald Trump. Quit making him relevant.
Mm-hmm.
He's not the answer to this country. If you're going to vote for Trump this year, you're doing it in spite. You don't believe he's the best for our country now. How could he be? Divisiveness is not the answer. No disrespect to the guy, but I mean, he's not earned my respect.
Right. No,
but
you're right.
He ain't the problem either. The only
I
problem
mean, to me, no.
Swamp to the alligators.
I said to me, he was an experiment based on the fact that people were so dissatisfied with whatever else was going on, in the country, that they said, well, what do we got to lose? You didn't know enough about the guy to know 4 years later what was going to transpire. You wouldn't assume some of these things of anybody that was running for office. But on the other hand, you can't totally put your head in the sand and, once it's happening, I don't know. But you're right. It is a much bigger deal made out of some things that really, at the end of it, so what? So what did you find? No matter what you find, it's too late to do anything about it. And you've wasted years on this that could have been spent handling like real problems that the rest of us all are dealing with every day.
What about this here? Now, Shot Spotter.
Okay.
This is a thing in Detroit that it might be somewhere else too. It might be elsewhere. Shot Spotter is a surveillance system that activates in the neighborhood when shots ring out. It doesn't identify who. It doesn't identify anything. It identifies the sound of gunfire in a specific spot, which the police arrive. They get en route before any calls come in.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's not a violation of your civil rights, is it? People are mad about it.
I know, and
They're saying it's surveillance.
No more than cameras on buildings and green light locations and all of that.
Well, that's another thing they claim. We've got the green light program in Detroit, which is surveillance cameras on participating businesses that police can use to help curb crime.
Right.
I look at it like this. If you're breaking the law, I don't give a crap about your civil rights.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. You exchanged your civil rights for your criminal behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's always second chances. We're not going to condemn you to life for theft. But what is deemed reasonable, if you're convicted of a crime, you do that time.
Mm-hmm.
When you get out, we're going to look at you a little bit harder again. It's called parole,
Mm-hmm.
right? Probation.
Prove
Those
to me, yeah, that you're not going to do this again. Yeah.
But now, again, we got too many rights for the criminals, not enough for the good guy.
Mm-hmm.
And who suffers? The good guy.
Mm-hmm.
And it ain't gonna happen. It's got to end.
It does have to end. But that's why, so you have the green light district, the green light places, because everybody complains about and cries about how much crime there is, and we have to do something to stop this. So we implement this. And now that we've implemented it and we implement something similar, now, our rights are being violated.
There's people.
What the heck do you want anyway? It's
how can you complain about the police being notified about gunshots in a neighborhood? One, there's no reason gunshots are going off in a neighborhood. You're not allowed to hunt in a neighborhood.
No.
You're not allowed to fire a gun in city limits.
Mm-hmm.
So there is zero reason other than self-defense to squash a crime, to which I would say, wouldn't you want the cops on the way any freaking way?
Mm-hmm.
So when you say, I don't like this, I go, why? So you can get away with something? And then you go, no, it's for my rights. I have a right to live more than you have a right to break the law.
Mm-hmm.
But no, we got to be sensitive to all the criminals. Not me. I don't care. Die if you need to.
Yeah, well,
You're going to go shoot up a neighborhood.
Yeah.
You're gone. Bye.
Rights go both ways, and good law-abiding people and their families and their neighborhoods and everything have every right to live without fear of the rights of the lawbreakers being, given preferential treatment, I guess, is.
Raleigh, North Carolina, 5 people, including an off-duty police officer, dead, no longer going home to family, no longer going home to talk to mom and dad, none of it, dead, gone, forever, because of a shooting. 2 people taken to the hospital, one, a K-9 officer with the Raleigh Police Department with non-life-threatening injuries, has been released. The other victim's in critical condition, right? 5 dead. For what? A white male juvenile suspect.
Mm-hmm.
Juvenile is the key word.
Right.
Juvenile. So 5 o'clock in an afternoon in the neighborhood of Headingham. Hours-long ordeal as they work to apprehend him. Just shoot him. Oh, but he's a kid. Yeah, what a life he's going to live. More than likely failed by adults. These aren't kids that are nurtured and grow up around everything perfect and good. Nothing's perfect. But when you nurture and give your child love, it ain't money, it ain't toys, it ain't the best shoes, it's giving yourself to your child.
Mm-hmm. No, why is it so complicated? Why is it so difficult to accomplish? I don't.
Mental episode, Bob. It's a mental episode.
Well, but I'm talking about in general the giving the kids the attention that they need and the example set that they need. I mean, whether you signed up for it or it was if Johnny was an accident and now I'm stuck with Johnny for 18 years.
So
guess what?
2022, we're in October. We're midway through, so we got November, December. There have been at least 531 mass shootings this year, including yesterday's. That's a mass shooting is at least 4 people dead, excluding the shooter. So that's more than one a day. That's pushing 2 a day
Mm-hmm.
in America, land of the free, home of the brave. We love baseball, hot dog, apple pie, and Chevrolet, and killing our neighbor after we rape and incest them and then not allow them to abort their baby.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, there ain't no mean tweets on Twitter. Not that I'm blaming any politician for the demise of our youth, because
Mm-hmm.
that has no relation. I blame you, the parent. I blame us, the adults, for failing our children, including the one at Oxford High School. That
Mm-hmm.
kid was a victim in his own right.
Mm-hmm.
His parents knew, his administration knew, people knew. They had him in the principal's office with the book, with the backpack, with the gun in it, knowing he had threatened people that day, and they let him go back to class. The parents were told, take your kid home, and they said no. So they let him go back to class. A decision they'll regret forever.
Mm-hmm.
Blame anybody you want. Those children will not come back home and eat dinner at the dinner table.
Sure. Well, and that decision right there was absolutely the fault of the administration. No, we told you take your kid home, as in your kid's being removed from here if you don't. To say no and say, oh, okay, well, whatever. You know, sorry, big fat failure.
But see, here we go. Why didn't you look through his book bag? We had we didn't have the legal right to. They didn't say that. They never said that. I'm speculating.
Well,
Couldn't you go?
Yeah, I was unspoken because
things.
But again, it's as simple as no, remove your child from the school. You've been told to because we have reason to believe, and we're not accusing, but we don't want any potential situation here. And since he's the focus of what could turn into a situation, he needs to leave the premises. Now, how we deal with it once he's off the premises, that's a different story.
No, but we failed him. So now he pays the price because he's the murderer.
Mm-hmm.
And I blame him 100% for what he did. But at 14 or 15 years old, literally begging for help.
Mm-hmm.
Ethan Crumbly, look it up. Look at his name. Look him up. Google it. He begged for help. His dad told him, get over it, toughen up. His mom, boys being boys, get him a gun, he'll be fine. Blew it. Totally blew it. It not only cost him his life, he's going to be in jail forever.
Mm-hmm.
4 children are dead. One of them, Tate Mayer, ran to him to try to stop it. He could have ran away.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in the military, you volunteer, you sign on the dotted line, you agree to put your life in danger.
Mm-hmm.
There's a risk that comes with it. There was a risk every day I got in the airplane and flew somewhere, whether it was just a local training mission or going over to Iraq and Afghanistan getting our ass shot at. Both dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
But we agreed to it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You couldn't sue the government because I got shot down in Iraq. Like, I agreed to all of this.
Yeah, that was part of the terms of the...
Yeah. Not so much when a child walks into a high school.
Yeah, not... Very true.
Not
or
so
anywhere. I mean, anywhere. It's gotten to a point anywhere for that matter. You shouldn't have to worry about going up to the corner supermarket or
Buffalo,
any of that.
Perfect example. Supermarket. For what reason? Because the guy had a racist bone and he wanted to pick it. I don't mean like a bone in his body. He had a bone to pick with people that he didn't know because of their color. He was 18 or 19 years old. How do you get there without being failed by the adults around you? You don't. So look in the mirror and blame yourself. Every time we see one of these 5 dead in Raleigh, North Carolina, look in the mirror and go, I did that. I mean, how else are we going to get it to change?
Yeah, I mean, people have to you.
But We can't use ShotSpotter. We can't have surveillance cameras because the bad guys might get infringed upon a little. I mean, it's crazy. Eat my butt, called apple pie. What's the difference? I got a thing about apple pie and sex.
Apparently, well, you're all about the pie today, yeah.
So just for the record, I've never actually had relations with an apple pie, but my mouth is like one. So,
and did you force yourself on that apple pie, or did it go willingly?
Yes, it didn't want anything to do with it. Wow. It's the degradation of society. And we want to blame mental health, and we want to blame. We are doing this. The easier our life gets, the better things should be. We should go back to the way it used to be 150, 200 years ago. We should be all ecstatic. We should not have a single problem in the world. We've got life so easy now, but yet we've got people too stressed out. How the hell are you 19 years old and life's got you by the freaking throat already? Because you're conditioned to it. Because you've been told your life sucks. Misery, pain is all you get. That's what you've been told. One day close to death. How you doing today, Bob? I'm here. Well, just go south, man. You know, I don't get it. We are drowned out by misery. It's all we see. It's all we hear. Division, misery, and everything. Oh, I got scared, Bob. I didn't mean it, really, Bob. Come back. He left the broadcast. He was like, I'm done with all this talk. Or maybe he had to poop. Who knows? So, if you don't get upset about these things, then there's something wrong with you. You know, when you're sitting here and you're talking about all this, how do you not get upset? Okay, we got to figure this out. We're not going to break. I know that. So, there. Well, we got it figured out. We're just going to hang out for like 45 minutes straight. Not even go to break. No more music or nothing. But that's how we do it. There's a lot to talk about. And it's hard not to get worked up when you're talking about this stuff. And I know I sound crass and the emotion gets the best, but I'm done with excusing people's crappy behavior. Period. You're not allowed to go out with a knife, which is a deadly weapon, and jeopardize the potential safety of innocent people. You're not allowed to run around with a gun, shoot everybody, and then put your hands up and go, my bad. No, you're bad, all right, and you're dead. Bye-bye. See, you don't want me in charge. Because I wouldn't have it. Once you commit a crime, you have temporarily given up your civil rights. That's the reason they took away your voting privilege back in the day. See, it was one of those things like when you're grounded as a kid, right? They take away your favorite thing. If all you could think about when you were a kid was playing baseball, the minute you screwed up, mom and dad said, what? No baseball for a week. You were dying. You couldn't handle it because it was something you enjoyed. So they thought the same premise would be freedom. We all like our freedom. There he is. There he is. Will you change rooms? There you go. But no volume. You're muted. And there he is.
I've muted. See, when you mute yourself, sometimes that's a good thing, but not in this case. Nope, just testing the limits of the hardware, I guess. Sorry about that.
I hear you. No problem. We managed. Long way without a break here, too. See, we're not going to break, obviously. We're getting down to the nitty gritty. But when you're talking about these things, there's got to be, this is America. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody does things that they regret. But when it comes to the safety of others, it's got to be zero tolerance. If you're going to run around doing these things, we're done with you. Period. Now, if you get away and everybody goes home and then you turn yourself in the next day, okay, maybe we won't shoot you in the police station. But if you got 16 police cars responding to shots fired, 5 down, send units, so we got an officer down, no, we're killing you. You're done with this. We've already decided your fate for you. Actually, no, retract that. You decided your fate for you when you started shooting at innocent people. How's that grab you? Yeah. But it's the way we do it. Walmart. Here we go. Here's a story. Chaos erupts at Walmart in Tennessee as two customers toss cookies and break wine bottles because they were accused of doing what they were actually doing, stealing stuff. Nearly $700 in merchandise. Monday, October 10th. If you were at the Walmart in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, then you were there. That's about 35 miles southeast of Nashville, Tennessee. Then you would see that two shoplifters who were 17 and 18 years old were approached by loss prevention workers saying, hi, you need some help? And they started breaking bottles of wine, throwing packages of Halloween cookies at the workers. They were approached by the police who were called. They were yelling and screaming and resisting arrest. I love the way they do this. This is in the eyes of we don't want to make people think we were too rough. As officers arrived to investigate, the 18-year-old continued knocking over and breaking bottles of wine and tossing her cookies. Police gave command to stop. She failed to do so, so they restrained her by using soft, open hand techniques. In other words, they put her in an arm bar, dropped her dumbass to the ground, put her arm behind her back and said, say uncle, and they cuffed the dunce. Resisting arrest, theft, vandalism, simple assault, the charges. 17-year-old was released to her parents. You should have arrested them for the night, too. Should have arrested the parents for the night.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that ain't it. That's cold. That's the way we live in today.
Well, there's way too much. We keep coming back to it. There's way too much focus on the rights of the perpetrator and not the rights of civilized, normal people. That's gotten all bent and twisted over time and needs some serious correcting. But again, we have to do this collectively and don't seem to be able to handle it. So,
well, the amount of people that steal is alarming.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely alarming and it's the mentality that they don't even actually think they're stealing. They think they somehow deserve this.
Well, it's owed them. Yeah.
Yeah. It's entitlement. They're a multi-million-dollar company. They got their money anyway, or I'm going to get mine, or whatever the reason.
Yeah.
It kills me to see it. It just kills me to people and it's not even about religion. But there's certain guidelines in the world we have to live by so that we can all get along. And nobody wants to go by them anymore.
Yeah, well, they used to call it civilized behavior and a civilized society where you go back to, the laws of civilization if you have to, which you have to before you can even put laws specific to situations and things like that in communities. If you don't have a basic structure of civility and what's right and what's wrong, then we're all doomed.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we are. We've gotten so far advanced that our lives should be damn near perfect. And now we've got all these excuses. We've got young children out there killing each other. We've got kids shooting each other up, schools, shopping malls. This is a juvenile that was shooting these kids up yesterday. A kid.
Mm-hmm.
There's no value of human life. None of it. I mean, I don't get it. But you have a word of the day?
I had a word of the day until the system went down.
Uh-oh.
So the word of the day has left my screen now.
We have a
we
phrase.
We can find one.
Called
Well, it almost is, but that's what I'm afraid of because, that G. It's a dollar thing. Okay.
for 3 years.
Okay, so my random word of the day list pops up with one word at a time unless you said it differently. So here's your word of the day, and it was totally random. Andromania.
What is it?
Andromania. Andro mania. And they use the definition of andromania as just another mania word. Nymphomania.
What's lymphomania?
Well, I thought nymphomania was being obsessed with, a nympho, being a nympho.
You just need sex all the time.
Right. So apparently, if you don't like the term nympho or you don't like to be called that, you could call yourself an andromaniac instead.
Tomato. You're still a perv.
Well, I had never heard of that word, so people at least wouldn't draw the immediate impression necessarily. It's not the more common use of the term, so.
Speaking of such a term, Saturday is Sweetest Day.
Nymphomaniac Day.
Nymphomania Day. Get enough flowers, maybe she'll give you a Deshaun Watson.
Sweetest Day. You know what? And you mention it now. I didn't even think about it till a day or two ago. It used to be a big old deal. It's totally, and I don't even think outside of Michigan. I mean, I don't think it's observed widely.
I don't know, but it came up on my national days.
Did it? Okay. Well, then maybe if it's a national thing, but it sure seemed like it came, all of a sudden, and we know when it is every year, but nobody seems to do it anymore.
Yeah,
We're not sweet anymore. We're too busy out there shooting people.
Right, exactly. It's funny. I just don't get it. It's crazy to me how we just degraded society down to nothing. But so we got a lot accomplished today, and I would like to. I didn't see a lot of comments about it, but I don't know how I've got internet issues on our screen. I don't know how good our broadcast went over the airwaves today, but the banning the book thing, and we're going to talk about that Monday because, well, no, we probably won't. But we're going to talk more about it coming up because I want to know the outcome and I want to see what we end up deciding as a group because public school libraries are different than public city libraries. So we'll see if cooler heads can prevail or not.
We can hope.
I wouldn't bank on it.
Yeah, we can hope.
All right, that does it for us today. Hopefully you guys all enjoy your weekend. We'll be back Monday morning, first thing, 7 a.m., a new way to start your day. And in closing, remember, opinions are like buttholes. Everyone has one and they all stink. I mean, opinions are not a dozen. Validation is the parking, and loyalty is not a word, it's a lifestyle. Life is too short to put your key to happiness in another person's front pocket. And could you imagine getting ball sweat on your key to life?
Yeah.
Jesus. My key to happiness smells like your scrotum. Thanks a lot. In a world where we can be anything, be kind. We have no idea what a kind word or a friendly smile can do to impact someone's day, even change a life. That's a heavy, beautiful burden to carry. So until Monday morning, I'm Sapphire Pates.
I'm just Bob.
We are out of here. Have a good day. Oh, by the way, it's payday, so go spend your money wisely. Or, as the government wants, not so wisely.